welcome, Megan.
Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited to be here with you today, Jen.
I'm excited to have you. So we were just talking a little bit about your past, and you had this like self-loathing, low self-esteem point in your life. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course, yeah. It actually started all the way back in elementary school that I can remember of having those negative thoughts about my body and being uncomfortable with the way that I looked and comparing myself to um, other kids at that time, other girls. And then as I grew up, it just got worse and worse and worse, to the point where I just didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. I hated how everything felt and looked on me. I was always like tugging at my clothes, staring at myself in the mirror, saying things like, "Oh, you shouldn't be eating this. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be working out more. Your stomach shouldn't look this way." And just, the thoughts that I'm sure many women have experienced themselves before. And um, as I progressed throughout life and we ended up getting pregnant, it didn't go away. During that time, I didn't want to have pregnancy pictures done because of how I felt in my own skin, and I was uncomfortable with the weight I was putting on and how I looked and how I felt. And um, yeah, that's kind of where it all started and all stemmed.
So when did that change? Like, was there a point that you were like, this can't be anymore?
So it didn't happen until after our son was born, probably, I want to say 3, 4 months after he was born. And it was just like this pivoting point where I said to myself, I can no longer think of myself in this light. I don't want my son to grow up with having a mom who constantly is berating herself. I want to be the role model for him that he deserves. And just, I had this like newfound appreciation and love for what my body was able to do and endure and go through and just experience. And through that, that's kind of how I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. It needs to stop, and started taking steps to make those changes.
So what were some of those first steps? Because I mean, that's a big one to break free from.
Yep. So some of the things that worked for me was really digging into personal development and listening to podcasts that, built up my self-esteem, saying affirmations like I am worthy, things that really helped me to feel better about myself. One of the things that I do with my clients is a mirror exercise, and noticing and looking at yourself in the mirror and saying something that you love about yourself. Because oftentimes what you'll find is you'll look in the mirror and there's things that you really don't like about yourself, and that's the first thing that you think about. So instead of doing that, you look at yourself and you say, "Oh, your eyes look wonderful today," or "I love how your eyes look." Or if it's not a physical feature that at first you're able to notice and discover, I was saying things like, "Oh, I'm such a good mom," or "I love what a great coach I am," things like that, to kind of boost up my self-esteem and build up my confidence.
So changing your thoughts
Yes. Yep. A lot
immediately.
of mindset work. Yes. Yeah.
So after the mirror exercise and moving forward, you say that you're working with clients now. Like, what other things are you doing to help with this building up the confidence and showing up in your life in a way that is loving towards yourself?
So for me, I am doing things that show respect and love for my body, and my mind, and me as a human in general. So things such as blessing my body with movement every day, blessing my body with the foods that I know make it feel good, and help give it energy, and things such as that. And focusing on how I feel, not so much on how I look, because I've realized through all of this work, mindset work, that I was placing value on myself and based upon like my physical appearance. Like I thought I had to look a certain way to be valued as a person or as a woman. And that's just not the truth at all.
Completely agree. And it's something it's beat into us basically at
Mhm.
a very young age. And whether you're going to the doctors or you're looking on social media or you're looking for a new quote unquote diet, it's all about that image. And I mean, I think that's great that you're focusing on my body is perfect and healthy now instead of it has to be a certain way or a certain number or things like that. So, how did you empower yourself? Because I know for me, it's been a struggle to
Mhm.
keep in that mindset. How do you bring yourself back when you have one of those human moments?
So that's a great question because they do happen. And to be honest, with everything that's going on right now, I am or I was an emotional eater. So with all of these newfound stressors that are going on, I found myself falling back into old habits of emotional eating. And with emotional eating, I'm eating things, that don't necessarily bless my body and make it feel its best. So um, I have noticed that I have been saying things like, oh, I really don't like the way that my clothes fit right now, or I don't like how I look right now. And when because have worked through this for a while, I'm aware of the thought. And when it's happening right away, I say, no, I don't think these thoughts. I don't say these things about myself. And then I'll say something positive. Now, it doesn't always happen in that way because I'm human. But I try my best to stop those thoughts when they happen, acknowledge that they are happening, and then just kind of get curious with myself about why this is coming up for me and steps to take to kind of shift gears and like change the way that my mindset is going, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, are you allowing yourself during this time? I mean, we're talking during the heart of the coronavirus,
Yes.
and most of us are on lockdown. I don't know if where you are is shelter in place. Are you allowing yourself to cave into any of these emotional eatings and giving yourself grace around it?
Absolutely. So given all of the stressors, anxieties, everything that's going on, it's much different than before. And I am giving myself a lot of grace and allowing myself, at times when this all first happened, I was honestly completely out of control with, it just stirred up a lot of my old habits with my emotional eating. Um, but given that I had worked through it, I did acknowledge it and I realized, and I spoke with my husband about it and said, a lot of my emotional eating is coming up again and I really need to take control of this because I feel like if I continue going on the path that I am, then it's going to exacerbate and become a much larger problem than it is right now. So during that time, I gave myself all the grace that I needed. I said it happened. It's okay that it happened because there was a lot of stress going on, but moving forward, I am putting into place things that are going to help me. I do allow myself a treat night or, a couple treats throughout the week, just to help me feel like in control and balanced and just give me that little extra, sweetness in my life when right now there's a lot of chaos going on.
Yeah. And so you're a mom right now. I don't know how old your kid is. Are they at home? Were they at school before? How do you keep yourself and your self care important right now when everybody all of a sudden is in your space all the time?
That's a great question. So, our son, his name is Owen. He actually turned 2.5 today. So he's still very young and he tries to be independent, but of course he needs mommy and daddy a lot. So he was in childcare 2 days a week, just for 5 hours a week. So, I mean, having him home all of the time now isn't so much of a difference, but it is in a sense. So my self-care is very important to me. My health is one of my top priorities and self-care falls under my health. So have like boundaries or schedules, routines in place to ensure that I am getting my self-care. And what that looks like for me right now is getting up before he does. And I have my morning me time. That's what I call it. My morning mom me time. And I have things in place for working out because I know that makes me feel great. I do some personal development reading during that time, listen to, if I have time, a little bit of a podcast or read some devotionals. Trying to think of what else I do during that time. But it's really just to center myself and ground myself in being prepared for the day because I have found when I don't have that time, I'm far less patient with our son and then I lose my temper and I don't feel like my best self. And then when I don't feel like my best self, then I go down that path of, self-loathing and, all of those negative things come back to mind. So I have learned that I need this time to be able to be the best version of myself and be the best me that I can be for him.
That's what you're teaching your clients too, is to find that time.
Hmm. Yes. Yep. Finding time for being able to do things for themselves as a mom, especially now more than ever, because overwhelm is real, burnt out is real. The stress that you are feeling now with having to become a teacher and maybe even work at home while your kids are there, it's a lot. It's a juggling act. And ensuring that you can find time to take care of your body and your mind is crucial. It's critical during this time so that you are able to still show up as your best self for your family.
So if somebody thinks they don't have time, and I'm sure you have a lot of clients coming to you saying, I don't have time, how do you help them carve out that time for them without losing sleep and the things for their health?
Yeah, totally, totally. That's a great question. And that is the top thing that I hear from moms is that I don't have time to do anything for myself. And what we do is we first will identify their priorities in their life, like their top 5 priorities. And then we'll take a look at their calendar. We'll do a little calendar exercise and kind of review what they have in their calendar for the week. And we start off very slow and very simple. And I say, is there one thing on your calendar that is not in alignment with your top 5 priorities that you can let go of? And they'll remove that one thing. And then that opens up a little block of time for them to do something. Or I will have them, this is a little bit more intensive, block out their time for the day, write down like how they're spending their time. Like we'll do a little experiment of how they're spending their time each day. And what they have found is that, oh, I'm spending 10 minutes on social media here, or I'm spending 20 minutes watching Netflix or something like that, which is totally fine to do. However, if they're wanting to do things like, say, move their body or meal prep or something like that, there's actually more time than they're aware of for them to do the things that they want to do to bless their body and their
I
mind.
love, I love that. Bless your body. I haven't heard that one yet. And I love bless your body with food, movement, all of that. I don't know, that makes my heart happy. It makes me want to do like a little happy dance inside.
Yeah, it's a nice way to have a positive spin on it, because so oftentimes I find that people have that negative connotation when it comes to movement and when it comes to fueling your body with the best possible foods for it. So when you say you're blessing your body with it, it gives it that positive spin and that positive light, which makes you want to do it more.
I love that. So your main focus is busy moms then?
Yes, busy and overwhelmed moms, absolutely.
And do you have a community that people are in that work together, or do you just do one-on-one?
So that's a great question. I do have a Facebook community called Busy Mom Style. I will be totally honest. Spend more of my time on Instagram. So I do share things on there. However, a lot of my stuff that I share that's really helpful and beneficial for moms is on Instagram or through a weekly newsletter that I send out recipes and things like that that are really helpful to making their life simpler. I think that there was another part that you asked to that question. Now I can't remember
I
what it
don't
was.
remember either. So keeping it simple and managing the overwhelm. Um, so do you have any programs and things that people can jump into if they're looking for support with things like that?
That was the other part that you asked. If is it more one-on-one or is it like group programs? So I do offer one-on-one coaching services, and I have a program called Busy Mom Style right now, which is helping moms develop healthy habits in the kitchen and be able to create meals that their families are actually going to eat. Um, because a lot of times I hear from moms that, oh, my kids aren't going to eat this. So they end up turning to convenience foods, which is totally fine. But they'll find that not only will their kids not have energy or like be all over the place, but they also are not having the energy that they're wanting. So being able to have simple, stress-free meals that they can like go to makes life so much easier and less chaotic and enjoyable. So that's what this program is helping them to be able to do. And have 3 clients now that are in it, and I'm like so in love with the program and what possibilities it's going to do for them.
And right now that's important because some parents were having, whatever the lunch was for the school or
Mhm.
packable lunches. Now you get to spend more time in the kitchen, which
Yeah.
I'm enjoying. I don't know if everyone else is enjoying it. I love being in the kitchen, and I think that's awesome that you're creating simple to keep the overwhelm out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it can be overwhelming, especially if you're not used to cooking. And like just knowing where to find recipes. I hear from so many moms that they're scrolling Pinterest for hours on end. And this way it takes that piece out of it, is that you don't have to worry about scrolling Pinterest. I give you recipes that are going to fit uniquely into your lifestyle and your dietary needs, and helping you to know like how long it's going to take to cook, the things that you need, and just making it, as you said, as simple and easy and stress-free as possible, and making the experience enjoyable again too.
So if somebody wanted to get into this, where could they find you?
So they can find me on Instagram at Meg Lafferty 26. I also have my Facebook business page, which is Wellness and Laughter. Or by sending me an email. You can send me an email at megan.lafferty.wal@gmail.com.
And I'll put all that stuff in the show notes too. I just want to make sure that people are able to get the support if they're struggling with that meals and finding the time right now with having everyone home. I know for me, my husband is home more than he used to be. And even sharing my space with him and the dog all the time, I'm like, whoa, this is way different. So I think that's so important, and especially with food, because me and my husband eat very differently.
Yep.
So I might come in and see what kind of fun recipes I can feed him, because the chicken nuggets and French fries and burgers are pretty much his speed.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, I have a chicken tender recipe, a homemade one that is incredible. It's not, I can't take credit for it. It's not my own, but I have tweaked it, and our son loves them and my husband loves them, and they're just so delicious, but in a healthier way. So it's a great little spin on that comfort food. And that's exactly during this time, a lot of people are looking to turn to comfort, and they're looking to it in food. So it's good to have healthier options to turn to, so you're not reaching for the things that are going to make you feel like garbage afterwards. But you still enjoy it because it's supposed to be a pleasurable experience when you're eating. And that's what I want to help other moms and other women in general be able to do.
That's awesome. So if there was one thing that people walked away from this interview, one big nugget, what would that be?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think. So I would say just reframing and switching your mindset to viewing cooking in the kitchen and movement as a blessing for your body. That you want to do this for your body and your mind, I should say. It's not only about your body, but your mind too, because it's going to help you and your family feel the best that they can and live a long and happy and joyful life, really.
That's awesome. And it sounds like there's, I mean, your group has laughter in it. So joy and happiness is definitely a big part of what you're bringing.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So just enjoying what they're doing, loving what they're doing, and just making it as simple and stress free as possible.
So last question is, what is your favorite thing that's positive about what's going on right now, the shelter in place and all of the changes?
That's a great question. So, really, for me, it has forced me to slow down and let go of things. I'm still working on that, but I am the type of person that likes to take on a lot more than I can typically handle. So this is allowing me to slow down and really prioritize and realize what's of value and what is of most importance. And I'm realizing that is, of course, family time, and relationships, like building those relationships with friends and getting creative with how we are able to still communicate and see each other. So I think it's been that gift and a blessing to be able to really let go of things that aren't of highest importance anymore.
And how are you still staying connected? To
So we're using Zoom a lot, or FaceTime. So we're doing like virtual Zoom workouts with my girlfriends in the mornings, little girls' nights just to connect. We're doing little family like dinners sometimes with our family. So we're just getting creative with how we are able to still connect and not feel completely isolated.
and are you still allowed to go out in the area, or are you shelter like in not allowed to leave your home?
So we are only able to go out for essential things. So grocery shopping, and my husband's job is considered essential. So he has to go to work, not every single day, but when they need him, he has to go into work. But other than that, we are home.
That's we are allowed to go for walks and essentials. That's it.
Yeah, we can go for walks outside. We go walking around our neighborhood as often and frequently as possible, because with a 2.5-year-old, you need to get outside.
That's awesome. So he's staying pretty entertained with mom home all the time and dad home more.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he's loving that my husband is home all the time, because he's used to me being home. I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom, while also running my business. So he's used to being home with mama all of the time. So I think he's really enjoying the extra time with dad, but he keeps us on our toes, always going, never stops.
That sounds like a 2-year-old.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's fun. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking this time to be with me and with the audience. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. This is incredible, and I hope your audience finds it of value. And I appreciate you welcoming me onto your podcast.